The Love My Body, Love Myself show is sponsored by Alicia Couri Inc. and produced by the Red Carpet CEO. Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to the Love My Body, Love Myself show. I'm super excited to talk to you today about this show because today we are talking about leadership, women in leadership. How do we lead like a woman? And I feel like that topic has been really big for me this week as I just launched, along with 32 other women, this book called Rise Up, Women Who Lead, Building Legacy. This is the book right here. It's going to pop up right in front of me. Yep. And it is live right now. So if you want to go ahead and get a copy of that book, you can do so. Just go to my link tree. If you go to linktr.ee/A Couri, not Alicia Couri, sorry, A Couri. If you go to my link tree, you can see it's right on the top, the book. So you can go ahead and order the book, Women Who Rise Up, Women Who Lead, Building Legacy. So today we are going to talk about leadership and how to lead like a woman. I'm super excited for this because a lot of times women in leadership feel that they have to be something else or do something else or present themselves in a different way in order to be taken seriously or in order to be authoritative. And it's not true. Don't buy that lie. It's not true. You don't have to show up as anything but yourself in order to lead and lead powerfully. So my guest is Kitty Barrow, and she started a movement. I call it a movement, but she started a tour called Lead Like a Woman, and I'm super excited to share this interview. You know, portions of the show tonight will be pre-recorded, and I'm going to be playing portions of the show because I want to be able to be here live with you and get your comments and you know, interact with you. So I'm here live and I'll play our interview. It was a great conversation, but I want us to also have a conversation within that conversation, if you understand what I mean. So if you're here live, thank you so much for joining. If you are joining us on Facebook, welcome Facebook. If you're joining us on YouTube, hi YouTube, woo-hoo. And also on LinkedIn, we are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and we're broadcasting live on Twitch. So if you can leave a comment, let me know where you're tuning in from. You know, leave the comment wherever you're watching, and even if you're watching this on the replay, leave a comment about this show. Leave a comment, ask questions, because I will go back. I see when comments pop up, and I will respond to you in the chat wherever you are watching from. So this is an important subject. It is an important show, and I invite you to connect with us on YouTube. So if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we do these weekly shows, we have the Love My Body, Love Myself show. We also produce a show called Small Business Saturday Shout Out that you can learn more about. And of course, there's the podcast Leading with Audacious Confidence. So you can be a part of all of those. You can connect with me on social media. Just go to Alicia360.com, and you can connect with me on all social media platforms, as well as you can send me a message through that link as well. So the Love My Body, Love Myself show, again, we are always looking for guests and sponsors. So if you want to be a guest or if you want to sponsor a show, please reach out to me. Go to support@aliciacouri.com to reach out. If you think you have a story or you're an expert and you want to be a guest, just go ahead and reach out to us at support@aliciacouri.com. And if you'd like to sponsor one of the shows, please feel free to sponsor the show as well. You know, right now the show is sponsored by, let me show you. It's sponsored by Alicia Couri Inc. and produced by the Red Carpet CEO. And Alicia Couri Inc. is a boutique consulting firm. It's my firm. It's a boutique consulting firm that specializes in developing audaciously proactive leaders and teams. And companies trust us to help them develop their teams, strong, powerful, productive teams. So go to aliciacouri.com for more information. Now, let's get to my amazing guest. Oh, before that, if you'd like to be a part of this movement and join our group, because we are trying to touch lives out here and touch and change lives. So please share this video with a friend or someone you know that might want to get into leadership, is in a position of leadership. I have many resources for women in leadership, so please connect with me. I have tons of resources for you to avail yourself, to build yourself up in your leadership journey. And so you can join our group as well, facebook.com/group/LMBLM. That's Love My Body, Love Myself. So let me get to my guest, and just stick around. Don't go anywhere, because this is going to be a fascinating conversation. And I'm going to pop in from time to time. If the video freezes, it has been doing that, or if there's something really profound that was said, or if you have a really great comment and I want to share it. So don't forget, chat with me, talk with me during the show, and I'll respond to you. So let's get to our main event, our amazing guest, Miss Kitty Barrow. I am super excited to welcome my next guest, and she was actually a guest of mine on my podcast, Leading with Audacious Confidence, talking about leadership and confidence, especially around women. And I'm super excited to have her again today to talk about leading like a woman here on Love My Body, Love Myself, because we all need to learn how to lead ourselves, especially as women, and love ourselves through the process, and not try to lead like someone else, or maybe even like men lead. We need to know how to lead as a woman and love ourselves through that process. So let me tell you all about Kitty Barrow. Our guest today is a senior partner and executive concierge level coach for Southwestern Consulting. For 15 years, she's worked in almost 100% female-dominated companies before transitioning to and excelling for the past 11 years in an 80% male-dominated world. In both careers, Kitty was consistently in the top 1% of sales and sales leadership. She's considered the OG at Southwestern, and her records went unbroken for 7 years. Kitty is passionate about empowering women to achieve new levels of leadership by embracing the power we have within us and eliminating some of the habits and thought processes that are holding us back from the success we desire. For her program entitled Lead Like a Woman, please help me welcome Kitty Barrow. Hey, Kitty.
Hey, Alicia, how are you?
I am wonderful. Super excited to have this conversation with you today.
I know. I love just being around you, because you're such a cheerleader for other women, and like you're the kind of woman that I talk about in my talk.
Oh, I'm so honored. So the movement Lead Like a Woman, and I'm calling it a movement because it's something that we need as women, and you are putting yourself out there as a leader yourself to help other women become stronger, better, more empowered leaders themselves. How did you make the decision to do this?
Wow, that's such a great question. I guess I've always been super passionate about this, but it was not my plan. And of course, my plans don't always end up being what they. God has other plans, right?
Yes.
But a few years ago, I started what I call basically the Badass Women's Dinner, because I wanted to be around the other women who are in business, or they're in sales, and they're driving. And a lot of women maybe don't understand. So necessarily that kind of woman, you need to come visit us. It's once a month in Nashville, and we get together, and it's just, it's so great to be around other women who are really supporting each other. And then one of the engineers from our group who like builds buildings here in Nashville, she works for Brassfield and Gorey, and she was like, hey, we have this women's leader event. Do you have a keynote? And I'm like, absolutely. And it was born, and just the more I worked on the keynote with my amazing keynote coach, Mark Brown, he is like the best, the more just there's so many tangents, so many things that we can be talking about. So it was hard to just narrow it down to what's most important right away for women to know.
Yes, there are so many different areas that we could really dive into, and because this show is all about loving body, loving self, finding that place of self-love. This is an important topic I found for especially women in leadership, because the doors are kind of slightly cracked open for us. It's starting to crack open. And as we step into these places, I did an interview recently with someone who works with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she was saying, we need to feel like we belong in these rooms. We need to have this sense of belonging. So this conversation, Love My Body, Love Myself, is to get rid of the imposter syndrome. It's to really get rid of and know that you do belong in these rooms. So how can women, and there is a question in here, how can women get rid of this idea? And even in your talk, I was listening to your talk where you're saying my feet don't touch the ground. You were speaking to a woman leader who's doing phenomenal things. And you're like, I feel like my feet don't touch the ground. That's that belonging piece that we don't have. How can women really start feeling like they belong in these rooms?
That is such a great question, Alicia, because so often we are the token female in the room, and then we can do things unknowingly that kind of hold ourselves back without realizing it. And that's like really the first part of my talk is realizing that, like, the first part is like, just, you're powerful. We need to own that power, because there's things we do that like we need to own even the words that we say. Starting off, like, women will say things like, oh, I'm sorry, but, or I may be wrong, but, when pointing out a problem, or the way that we sit. Like, we might not sit at the table. We might sit at a back chair. I know Sheryl Sandberg talks about that. Or maybe we're kind of hunched over and we're like, oh, do you have a minute? Like, I've had women after my talk come to my office and go, do you have a minute? And I'm like, we have a scheduled time. Why are you hunkering down here? And I don't know if you could see everything behind me. Like, I, as you can tell, like to surround myself with things that remind me that I am powerful and I have accomplished things, and that there are people cheering for me. Like a lot of those things down there is everybody, things that people have done to cheer for me. Because yes, we can have imposter syndrome, and then we say or do things, or how we posture ourselves, right? Yes, nobody's going to respect a woman trying to act less than if you're trying to move up in leadership.
Well, that whole thing of acting less than is that we have been treated differently since birth than our male counterparts. We have been treated differently. And there is a different expectation on us as women to be ladylike, to be like women, to be soft-spoken, to be like, and so when you get in with the boys club, how do you stand apart and not try to lead with masculine energy, but still have your femininity, have your feminine energy, and still be powerful? How does that happen?
So good. Such a good question. And I know every woman, we've heard about the fine line, right? We kind of walk this fine line where if you're too much, well, that woman's too much, or she's a biatch, or like, she can't stand it. Or so then we're trying to go to the other side of the line, and then we're not enough, and then we're ignored, or we're passed up, or not taken seriously enough. And where is that line? And I think a lot of emotional intelligence, that's something I work on a ton, and I don't think I'll ever get a finish line. There's a lot of emotional intelligence around how to stand firm and not be pushed around. There's a great book called Boundaries. I'm sure you have read the book. But
I actually have not. You need to give me that book. I have not read that
right.
book.
Oh gosh, boundaries is so they've got boundaries for children, boundaries for the regular boundaries for marriage, boundaries in the workplace. Boundaries are very important because another thing we talk about is a lot of times women have a hard time setting a boundary and sticking to it. And that's all it is. A lot of times men, they're divisive. They're decisive. They say, this is red, this is white. I mean, think about football. I watch a lot of football. There's a line. And if you catch the ball outside this line, well, nobody's going to argue that was an out of bounds. That does not count.
Right.
If you this side of the line, then yeah, it counted.
Yeah. It's very cut and dry, very black and white.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But there's bad people in the world that will make you feel bad about your boundaries. And a lot of times that is how we are raised as women, that we need to be nice and we need to, okay, let me give a little.
Accommodating.
And then you come into the workplace and you set a boundary and people try to push past it. And you have to be able to say, no, this was the boundary.
Mm-hmm. Without, again, that masculine, you don't have to lean into masculine energy to do that either.
You're yourself, but you say no, and you don't feel guilty about your no. The other thing is, a lot of times we don't tend to tell people where that boundary is, and then we'll get upset that somebody's pushing past the boundary.
That's a big one. That is a big one. We don't, we have this expectation that people should know.
Yes.
Or have an understanding of what the boundary is, and we don't actually voice what that boundary is. And then we do get upset that someone's crossed your boundary, but you're still doing it. Yeah, you're grumbling and complaining. You're still doing it.
Yes.
I wish they would, but you have to speak up. We have to speak up, say what is what our boundaries are, and stick to them. So those are some really important points.
Yes. And that's a lot of the first part of my talk is just some introspection. What we are frustrated about in our work life, what part of this are we causing ourselves? And that's often very hard because we want to blame, right? We want to blame that man or those men or the system. But what part can
what
we
is
control?
Our contribution to that? Right.
We can't control other people.
How are we?
Women,
we always have to look at that first.
Women will try to control everybody.
So the other really interesting thing in your talk that and it was just a little snippets, and you can go to YouTube, you can go to the channel, to the website, go to kittybarrowswc.com, and you can see the talk.
I'm gonna just pop in here for a second, because what Kitty was sharing just a moment ago about boundaries is so very important. And we tend to not have firm boundaries. We tend to not want to share our boundaries. So I didn't want to just gloss past that. And since my video was giving a little bit of a lag, I thought I'd take the opportunity to pop in now and just really let that land for you. In order to really lead powerfully, we need to understand and know our own boundaries. So let's get back to the recording.
The talk, or at least not the whole talk, but you'll see the trailer for it.
Yes.
You talked about the time element, like how are we spending our time? That's another boundary we don't really look at. How are we choosing? Like, we choose how to spend our time, but a lot of us don't consciously choose what we're saying yes to and how we're really spending our time on the things that are important for us.
That is so true. We as women feel like we have to do it all. We feel like we have to prove ourselves 10 times more than a man, and we've got to do it all at work, and we've got to do it all at home. In fact, my cousin, who's like in her, I think she's early 30s, she was just like last week complaining because she feels like her fiance doesn't think her job is as important because she doesn't make as much money. And she was like she said, well, if I order groceries, he like looks down on that. Or if I have the food delivered instead of go get it, he's like, well, why didn't you just go get it? And we have all these complaints that they don't know what we do, but also we're not telling them what we do. And so we think, like in her head, she's thinking, he doesn't value what I do for a living and the time I spend. But ultimately, it's that he just doesn't know everything she's doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important. And I think it also harkens back to a time when women worked in the home. You know, they were housewives. They took care of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't valued as much as the husband going out and making a paycheck. Well, all the stuff that just because it's not, there's not an income from that to say, well, this is worth this. Whereas what you're doing, there is a corresponding income to it. It does not negate all the work that you're doing to hold that house together, to raise the kids and to do all that. And nowadays, you know, women are doing that and working outside the home too. And I have to say kudos to a lot of partners, men and women who are partners, are working more collaboratively together, but there's still an inequitable balance.
Oh,
There's still a little inequity there. So when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, you know, there's still a disproportionate amount of work still falling on the shoulders of women in the home.
Yes. And one of the things I talk about that saved my life when my kids were babies was just getting out a legal pad and just writing down let me back up. If you're ever going to move up in leadership in the workplace, you cannot be exhausted. You cannot be mad. You have to have enough time for your children or for going for a walk or for your partner, like whatever's important to you. And so years ago, I was taught just get out a legal pad. Down one side, you write down everything that you do, right, all the way down. And then on the other side, you write down what they do. And I mean, this is 26 years later, so there might be a couple more things. And then you show it to them because men are visual. And when they can actually see the inequity, then they're like, oh, and ever since that day, like, I don't grocery shop. I don't do the dishes. I don't do the laundry. Right. And people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, well, because Ronnie saw the list. And that's what he chose.
Right. Because you showed everything that needs to be done that usually falls on me doing it.
Yes. Instead of feeling unappreciated. And then now I have more time for what's important and more time for the things at work so that I have time to move up in leadership.
Yes, that's an important tip right there, because we can't do it all alone. The women that do that tend to get sick early in life, have a lot of complications. And so we don't want, this is what this show is about, is teaching you different strategies and tips that help alleviate you of having that burden all on yourself. Yes. And making sure that you prioritize, because you can take that legal pad too, and then prioritize the things that are important to you. Instead of finding that you're doing everything, prioritize what is really important. So if you do from time to time have to get your groceries delivered, have the groceries delivered, spend a few days to get food delivered if you don't want to cook. So, that is what's great about this world, is even what's left on your side, you can often automate it through grocery delivery, delegate it. That somebody can clean your house when you do your laundry. If you're single, you still shouldn't have to do everything at home, and you can still delegate some of that stuff through food deliveries and having things come to your door. What's interesting is we had this conversation on one of my, I taught this on our July mastermind for our coaching, for the coaching division of our company. And it was men and women on this call. And then I was in one of the breakout rooms, and this man, he said that his father, oh yeah, my father taught me when I was young, you never do what you could pay someone else to do.
And the lady and I were like, said no mother to her daughter ever.
Exactly. But I say that to mine. I
Yeah.
do say that to my children because I'm like, your time is more valuable than you give it credit for.
Yes.
And figuring out what you need to spend your time on is something that we're not taught. We're not taught you need to value your time and what you need to spend that time doing to be most productive. And I've already said grocery shopping is not the best use of my time.
Me too.
It is not. We need to eat. Yes, someone else does the grocery shopping.
Yes, exactly.
And thankfully, my teenage daughter jumped up and said, okay, I'll do the grocery shopping every week. You don't have to do it anymore. So I'm like, good, because I'm not doing it. So
I love it.
we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back with Kitty Barrow. So don't go anywhere. Stick around.
Yes, the Love My Body, Love Myself show is brought to you by Alicia Couri Inc. and produced by the Red Carpet CEO. So Alicia Couri Inc. is a boutique consulting firm that specializes in developing audaciously proactive leaders and teams. And we use brain science and people data to get people really great results. And the Red Carpet CEO, well, we produce shows like this. We produce Love My Body, Love Myself, Small Business Saturday Shout Out, and the Leading with Audacious Confidence podcast. So contact us if you would like to be a guest.
And we're back with my guest, Kitty Barrow. I'm super excited to now dive into her life as a leader and how she has managed to stay looking gorgeous, of course, and how she loves her body and loves herself. So Kitty, tell me a little bit about your journey to health and wellness and how you choose to love yourself.
Wow. So making that long story short, essentially, I had gained a lot of weight in college. And so this is how you decide a major. I said, what can I major in to learn how to lose weight? So I majored in exercise science and learned how to lose weight. And then I went to work for a Thomas Hospital Wellness Center. It was a brand new wellness center back when wellness centers were like brand new ideas down in Fairhope, Alabama. And so I had the job of over hundreds of people, 65, 70, 80 years old. I was doing their health assessments. And what I noticed is the people who were like with it and they were spry and they were a good healthy weight and they weren't on 10,000 medicines. What they all had in common is they had basically a lifetime history of walking on a regular basis. These weren't triathletes. These weren't, endurance. This was just a lifetime history of moving. And so I decided at 23 years old that I am going to exercise at least 3, preferably 5 times a week for the rest of my life. Wow. And just deciding that one habit has proven to be very effective. And I really do believe, especially the way we as women are raised, we look so much into that mirror and we decide how we're going to feel that day based on how we feel.
Have a bad hair day. Oh my God.
Or how pudgy, and look at that belly. And
bags under my eyes because I didn't sleep.
Yes, and these kids these days are getting like Botox in their foreheads, and I'm like, I want to be able to raise my eyebrows and
have some expression.
Yes, those children, they yes.
I know. So let me ask you then, because you were overweight, how was that to your self-esteem? Were you happy being where you were? Of course you wanted to learn how to lose the weight, but what did that do to your own self-esteem?
Yeah, no, I did not. Yes, I wasn't happy. I was more tired. I couldn't fit in the clothes I wanted to wear. If I did, it was like way too tight. And then you're very self-conscious. It wasn't me. And that's what I've noticed over the years is whatever weight we're at, if you stay at that weight, it's because you've decided this is me. And the thin me is not me, because your mind is very powerful. When your mind decides this heavy me is not me, like I cannot be heavy, because my mind has decided that is not Kitty Barrow. And I have seen this in and my best friend who's lost a ton of weight. Finally, like when she was 60, because she finally decided this heavy me is not me.
Yeah. Wow. You know, that is powerful, because that I always had this thought of myself like that too. Like, because I'm short, and I always said I cannot be too far over 100 pounds and be short. I just can't. So I've always, the only time I went over was, of course, my pregnancies. But then after my last pregnancy, when I was in my 40s, I did put on weight, and I couldn't understand, what is this? And I did not feel like myself. I did not. And, you know, people would look at me and say, you're fine. What's wrong with you? Even the doctor was saying, oh, that's just a little 5-10 pounds here, 5 pounds there. That's no big deal. But for me, because my mindset was, I can't be 120 something pounds. That's not me.
Yeah.
And I was on a mission to get under 110, and I need to be under 110. And every time I creep up to 110, it's not like I get panicky, because I'm not a scale, you know, I'm not always on the scale. I just know when I feel it. And then I'm like, okay, we need to cut back a little bit, and, you know, maybe run a little extra.
Yes.
A couple extra minutes. I can't say miles because I don't run miles, but a couple extra minutes.
Yes, I agree. Wait till you hit perimenopause and they put you on hormones and you gain 10 pounds in 6 months, which is what happened to me. Oh,
yeah.
But
I'll see what happens within that. I'm in that period, but I haven't been put on any hormones.
Oh, yeah, so lucky.
We'll see.
Yes, but I also don't want to shame anyone who's heavier and loves themselves.
Exactly. This is not about that at all.
Great. The only thing about being heavy, like there to a point, there's a reason why they call it the BMI, right? That's I forget what it stands for, but it's basically
body mass index.
The body mass index. That's the point. When you get too high of a BMI, that unless you're a bodybuilder, which is when the BMI doesn't work, this is when we're becoming heavy, that it's affecting our joints, it's affecting our back, it's affecting our internal organs, our ability to think. You can't sleep as good. Like there's so many things.
And then disease, you're more prone to disease, inflammation, and everything else. And again, you are absolutely right. It's not about fat shaming at all. This is not what this show is about. It's about healthy living, being healthy. So you can love the body at whatever size it is. It's about you loving you. And yes, we're just saying that for us, we in our mind couldn't see ourselves a particular way. And when we made that decision, that's when you do something differently, because it always, the decision precedes any success in what you do. Even in leadership, you have to make the decision.
It's best, yes, in leadership and everything. When we decide, that's when things happen.
Yeah,
but
we have to want it.
That we are just a victim, or I'm just built this way, or this is just how my family is. That those kind of excuses that we give ourselves, that those are the reasons that we end up where we don't want to be, like not promoted in leadership, not the way we want to be, etc.
Yeah, and again, it's really about building self-esteem, building your self-worth, making sure that you really love who you are. And when you really love who you are, you make choices that are good for you. You don't eat things that comfort you just because you need to be comforted. You eat things that are going to nourish you and nourish your body. And you did, you know, I'm speaking to the choir here because that's what you studied in college.
Yeah. And then I couldn't get a job back then. So then I got a master's in sport medicine. Then I really couldn't get a job. So.
Oh, no. And well, let's talk about that for a second too, because as sports medicine, again, we're looking at male-dominated industries. You've been in mostly male-dominated industries your whole life as a woman. And so you must have done a lot of mindset work and a lot of work on yourself to really be firm in who you are and the value that you bring.
Yeah, you're right. My grandmother was a chemical engineer, and so she would always complain about all these men that she trained, and then they would become her boss. And so I did not want to fight that fight. And so then I got my master's in sports medicine, but to advance in sports medicine at Auburn University, where I went to school, one man had the football team, one woman had every other sport. And I was like, I don't want to fight that fight. That's not, and so I found something else to do. And then here, how many years later, I have ended up in that fight. I think God just wanted me in that fight. But now I love it. Like, I'm really embracing it. And for the most part, most men, they are very supportive.
Yeah.
They're very supportive of what they don't realize. None of us realize the bias that we have in our head. Nobody realizes how that, oh, she's pregnant for the second time, she's probably gonna, want to stay home. Like, who doesn't think that?
Because we can't read the label from outside the jar. We can't read our own stuff from outside the jar. So we have biases. We have preconceived ideas.
We do.
We profile people. We profile people.
I look at you and I'm like, oh, she's so gorgeous. I should have done my makeup better.
I'm looking in the mirror like, oh. Let me throw some eyelashes on so at least I can look a little bit close together.
I forgot my eyelashes.
Like 5 minutes before you came on, I was like putting eyelashes on. Like, let me at least put some eyelashes on because everything else kind of feels a little, back again to what we were saying before that, we wake up, look in the mirror, and we think, well, this is how this day is going to go.
Yes, exactly. And so back to loving yourself. One of the things we talk about at Southwestern Consulting is our anchor moments. And a lot of what is surrounding me are my anchor moments. Like up there, I've got my degree from Auburn University, and then my degree in sports medicine. And then I have this board that I broke. And then these seashells, they mean something to me. And then all the awards, and what you can't see here, like on my records that other people have now broken. But like, just surrounding yourself. And I've got this sheet of all these nice things people said about me. Like, our confidence is going to get shook every day. And I hope that nobody ever thinks, as beautiful as Alicia Couri is, that she never, her confidence never gets shook, that Kitty Barrow is a senior partner, that my confidence never gets shook. But what are we surrounding ourselves with? What are we choosing to believe about ourselves? Now, we also say at Southwestern Consulting that, every piece of feedback, there might be some kernel of truth. So we need to look for the kernel. But a lot of times the feedback we're getting from people is not what we need to be applying or even thinking this is true about our lives. But how are you remembering?
And that is really important. And it's not an exercise in making your head really big. It's not an exercise in look at me, look what I've done. It's an exercise in reminding yourself that you are good enough, you're worthy enough. You've done this.
Let's take a little bit of a pause to let the video catch up with the audio. So I'm so fascinated by this conversation. I'm hearing it again for the third time. So I was in it the original time, and I'm hearing it again for the third time. And it's really important for us to have those anchor moments, as she's saying. Surround yourself with things that remind you of your accomplishments and the things that you've done. And I love what she said. You have to choose what you believe about yourself. You can choose that. So many times we just allow that subconscious player to play in our head of the negativity, but we can stop that, and we get to choose something differently. So I'm just gonna join the rest of the conversation. I'm gonna hit play again, and hopefully we'll catch up. The video will catch up, and we'll finish off strong with this conversation. I love it.
On the work. And so don't shrink back because you have already climbed that mountain. Don't go back to base camp and think, I don't know, I can't, I'm not, I'm only, you surround yourself with the things that say, look what you did. And what's next on the horizon for you? Just imagine, what can you do next?
Yes.
To keep pushing yourself forward. So I love that. I love that you have those. And I do have my crown and sash behind me.
There you go. Yes.
I don't think I'm ever going to do another pageant, but that is an anchor moment for me, because I didn't think I would ever even do that in the first place and win.
I love it.
So, I totally agree with you on that. Have your anchor moment, put things up around you that are positive, that remind you of who you are, and encourage you to love yourself even more every day. Yes. Any final, I know the anchor moments was a big one, but any final words you want to share as we close today?
Well, I wanted to add real quick, if I could show up there, that is my vision board. And so you were talking about, what is next? Do we have a vision board? Do we know where we're going? Because if you don't have a really big vision, it's hard. What are you believing in anyway? And so, yes, we need to surround ourselves with the things that inspire us. We need to get things off of our plate that are not the best use of our time. And if we're struggling with confidence issues, like, we need to dig deep into that. And what are we going to do to watch our words, to watch how we stand, how we talk? Because you don't have to be fake. You don't have to be manly to be a great leader, when the confidence does come from within. And that confidence is built every single day, because the world it'll try to tear you down.
Yes. Well, Kitty, thank you so much. You gave us so many nuggets, such rich things for us to take a hold of and start putting into practice. And look out, if you want a speaker for your organization, for women in leadership, if you're looking for someone to really come teach women how to lead like a woman, contact Kitty. Go to her website, kittybarrowswc.com, and get in touch with Kitty and let her know that you saw her on Love My Body, Love Myself. Thank you so much, Kitty.
You are so welcome. You're the best, Alicia.
Thank you.
What a great conversation that was with Kitty Barrow. I just wanted to highlight a couple things. Let me move some of these things out of the way. So if you wanted to get in touch with Kitty, I am pulling up her info that you can reach out to her. You can go to her LinkedIn. It's at Kitty Barrow. Also, the same thing on Facebook. It's Kitty Barrow SWC. On Twitter, Kitty Barrow _SWC. And her website is kittybarrowswc.com. So you can reach out to Kitty. She's on all social media channels. And I just wanted to encapsulate this a little bit and share some of the things that we discussed during the show. You are very welcome, Ernie. Thank you so much for joining us today and being so active in the comments. I love it. I love it. I love it. So my mouse pad keeps jumping. So we talked about boundaries and how important it is for women to really build their emotional intelligence. And because one of the key things she said is, you can't be exhausted because of all the things that you do at home, at work, for everyone else. You can't be a great leader if you are exhausted. So take out your legal pad and write down everything that you could do, and then prioritize them and see. I have a coach that always says, see who, not how. Who can take these things off your plate, not how can I do them. So that's a key thing. Write everything down and then see who can help you with these things, not just how can you do it. And then another great tip she had is within the health and wellness side is when she was doing her degree in college, she interviewed, she had to do a lot of intake with elderly patients, and realized that the ones that were really still very active had a habit of being active. So they were active in their mind, they were active in their body, and they had built a habit of being active. So to get up and be physically active, and that helped them stay mentally sharp. So also that we as women have to decide how our day is going to be, and not based on how we feel when we wake up in the morning. We decide how the day is going to be. We don't say, well, oh, I'm having a bad hair day, so my day is shot. So we get to decide that. And finally, another really big thing that she talked about is how you see yourself in your mind's eye. How you see yourself is how you're going to be. So if you see yourself defeated, you will be defeated. If you see yourself strong, and you will be strong. If you see yourself at a certain weight level or a certain health goals, that's where you will be. So start with the mind and create those anchor moments. Create those anchor moments around yourself. Surround yourself with your highlights, the things that you've accomplished. And when you surround yourself with that, even when you get down or someone criticizes you, you have those anchor moments that you can lean on. And then you choose to believe about you what you want to believe, and not believe what others might think or say about you that's in the negative. So that's kind of just wrapping it all up in a bow, our conversation for today. Those are some of the tips. Those are some of the aha moments from this interview. I hope you enjoyed it as I did, and I enjoyed having Kitty on the show. Again, if you would like to be a guest or sponsor a Love My Body, Love Myself show, please reach out to me it's support@aliciacouri.com for either being a guest or to sponsor one of our shows. This show was sponsored by Alicia Couri Inc. and produced by Red Carpet CEO. Please, again, if you would like to reach out to me, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can go to alicia360.com. You can, from there, you can reach out to me on multiple channels. You can connect with me and reach out to me there. And also, I want to make sure that you don't forget to check out our new book that just released today. It's an anthology of 33 women, 33 really strong, powerful women. And it is called Rise Up, Women Who Lead, Building Legacy. And if you would like to get a copy of that book, you can go to my Linktree. And my Linktree, I'm trying to pull up the Linktree here so that you can jump on it. I can't find it at the moment, but it's Linktree. It's linktr.ee/A Couri. So go to Linktree. You'll see the link for the book on Amazon, and just click on the book and get your copy. Also, finally, if you'd like to join our Facebook group for Love My Body, Love Myself, go on ahead to facebook.com/groups/LMBLM. That stands for Love My Body, Love Myself. It was indeed a pleasure having you with me here today. I really enjoy doing the show. I enjoy the comments, so keep the comments coming, and I will continue to respond to them. But have the most amazing rest of your week, and I encourage you to love the skin that you're in. Love this body. It's the only one you're ever going to have. Treat it well, take care of it, and in that process, love yourself through it. So love your body and love yourself, and I will see you next time. Mwah.